Can you hear us now?
No.
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 Okay, here it comes. La 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 la.
Oh,
la,
there
la,
you
la,
are.
La la la.
This is the AT Banter podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to yet another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
I am Rob Minot, and joining me today...
Joining.
Excellent.
Joindy.
And joining me today, as always, Mr. Ryan Fleury.
Hey there.
Mr. Steve Barclay.
Yo.
And a special in-guitar dungeon guest, Shawn Marsolais, who is the founder of Blind Beginnings.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, hey, thank you so much for coming by and
Skipping work and
This is work. I'm promoting my organization.
that is true.
braving the stairs into the guitar dungeon.
Yeah, those were nice and cushy.
You are the second person in the guitar dungeon.
Oh, wow. I'm really honored now.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, well, you know what the funny thing about it? I was thinking about this. I think you were like the second person ever to come in studio when we were still in Burnaby.
2. I guess that's the lucky number.
Clearly. I forgot to and also announce Mr. Cowbell.
Oh yes, Mr. Cowbell
Is joining us today too. Mr. Cowbell and Google, I think, are people's 2 favorite hosts. Should really give them their own spin-off show. All right. Well, let's. So we should preface this by saying you have joined us before. We had you on early on, but for those people who may not be familiar with that particular episode, because that does go way back into the archives, why don't you tell people what Blind Beginnings is and maybe a little bit about how it formed?
Okay. So Blind Beginnings is a charity that provides programs and resources to families who have children and youth who are blind or partially sighted across BC. This is actually our 10th anniversary this year, this February. So we've been around for 10 years, which is amazing. I started the organization because I felt that there just needed to be more for kids and their families. There's kind of a lot of focus on seniors who are blind because that's the majority of the population. But for children who are born or lose their vision in early childhood, it's a completely different situation and they need different kind of support. And the parents need a lot of support too. So everything that we have created is kind of around helping kids to reach their potential and showing families that blindness does not mean that that's the end. It's just the beginning and they have limitless potential and life can bring them limitless possibilities.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is really interesting when you think about sort of the needs of 2 different communities in terms of old versus young. Mm-hmm. Seniors and stuff who are going blind. It's a very different place, both emotionally and mentally, and sort of OEM wise. Mm-hmm. Then
OEM?
Did I say
ONM? Mobility wise?
Oh yeah, thank you.
No, we're talking about generic seniors. Aftermarket seniors.
Okay, listen, I'm having computer issues. I've been dealing with Windows disks for the last week, so it's on my mind. Full disclosure.
And you're keeping all this.
But yes, so seniors generally, or people who lose their vision later on in life, are experiencing a lot of grief and loss, whereas children aren't. So that's the benefit to losing it early. You don't know what you're missing, so you don't feel sad or you don't feel like you're missing out. But for children, they don't have a concept of many of the things that we've learned visually. So seniors don't have to worry about, what does an intersection look like, because they saw one before they went blind. So crossing the street and learning to do that without vision is easier, right? For a child, what's an intersection? Well, how do you teach that? You can't have them feel it, really. So yeah, just concepts that we take for granted take more explanation and description for kids who are blind.
And I would imagine that, activities and getting out and doing things outdoors and stuff is a lot more vital to a younger demographic than an older as well.
Yeah, I think so. And often when kids are blind, PE is the first class they're pulled out of because the curriculum doesn't really, it's not accessible in a lot of ways. Basketball, badminton, volleyball, not the best sports when you're blind. So a lot of blind children have low muscle tone and they're not physically active, and that's terrible, really. I mean, it's important for everybody to be active, and there are so many activities that you can do. But if you're in a school setting where, that doesn't apply to most of the other kids, then people don't know how to accommodate.
So does it shock you that it's been 10 years?
Kind of, yeah. I'm just starting to write an article about sort of where we've come in the last 10 years. And I was looking back at my calendar from 2008. And I had one calendar from 2008 to 2010. And that document was shorter than my calendar this year, probably from January till now. It's amazing where I started and where we are now and how we've grown. When we started, I was working out of my home. It was just me. I didn't get paid for the first 2 years. And then finally we moved into an office. Now we've moved into a second office that's bigger. I've got a staff right now of 3. That's amazing to me. 3 plus me, so 4. Our Christmas lunches are getting bigger. Our staff lunches.
It's not just you sitting in the
by myself.
sitting in the office with a sandwich.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm totally. It's awesome. I can't believe we're still here. Well, I can sort of, but when I started the organization, I also went back to school to get my master's because I thought, well, if the nonprofit doesn't work out, I'll have this counseling degree to fall back on. And now I'm sort of like, why did I do that? I'm not really using it. I could be making way more money as a counselor, but I haven't had to fall back on that. So that's awesome.
Now, we probably asked you this last time you were here, but are there other nonprofits that are similar to yours anywhere else in the country?
I don't think so. I know there is an organization for families in Alberta, and there's one in Ontario. But I don't think they're doing what we're doing. I think it's more, the Ontario one, I believe, is more kind of advocacy and connecting parents. I'm not sure what exactly they're doing in Alberta. I think Blind Beginnings is pretty unique. I don't have time to research all the other ones.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't think there's anyone really doing what we're trying to do. It is kind of shocking. I mean, well, CNIB is a giant, right? And they're across the country, and they do, in some provinces, do more for children than they have been doing in British Columbia. So maybe that's why, because there are some supports there. But really, Blind Beginnings is about our no limits philosophy, really showing kids that there is no limit, giving them opportunities that no one else may be giving them, and connecting families with each other.
Okay, so speaking of known limits, now that I've been dying to talk to you about this because I thought this was so cool what you guys did over the summer. So, how do we preface this? So we have this thing here in Vancouver called the Grouse Grind, and Steve, how would you describe the Grouse Grind to somebody who is from outside the area?
It is probably one of the most excruciating walks up a hill that you can experience in the local area. However, when you get to the top, there's a bar, so it's okay.
They call it nature's stairmaster, don't they?
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
I call it 2 hours of, oh, Jesus, we have to be close now. 2 hours of, oh, this seemed like a really good idea on paper.
And it's still on my list of things to do, my bucket list, Steve. So maybe this year.
Dude, you get a different bucket.
No, gotta
You
do
need
it.
a different bucket.
No, gotta do it.
I mean, I would say it's got to be probably the closest thing to actually mountain climbing without like actually needing gear. It's like this weird, hybrid of a walk and mountain climbing.
Yeah. I don't know, Shawn. Do you recall the distance and the altitude gain on Grouse?
It's
Hang on, I can look it up.
I forget because something like 2,000 and something stairs.
Okay, here we go. So the Grouse Grind is a 2.9 kilometer trail with some 2,830 steps leading up to the peak of Grouse Mountain.
Yeah, a lot of steps.
And that does not do the thing justice because it's not steps. You're climbing over logs. It's it's not a clean trail. It's not.
Yeah, some of the steps are above your knee.
Yeah.
In height. And they're all different. And so you can't really get into a rhythm, especially if you can't see what's coming. You're constantly having to adapt and, now that's we're going smaller, we're going bigger, we're going medium size. Oh, now there's no stairs.
So
yeah, and you gain 2,800 feet in that 2.9 kilometers. So that's a pretty good gain.
It is. So it's locally it's one of the most intense hikes that you can do, and a lot of people who are way into fitness will do it in the spring and the summer when it opens. And what you guys decided to do was to take a group of blind and visually impaired youths up this thing.
Yes.
Tell us.
And that seemed like a good idea to you.
So, yeah, I was actually approached by the recreation therapist at Sunny Hill, Christina Duncan. She works with kids who are visually impaired. And she said, what do you think about taking some kids up the Grouse Grind? And I loved the idea. So I did the grind in maybe 2001. And it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Mm-hmm. I did it with two friends and they switched off guiding. So one would be guiding me and one would be behind and they were both giving me information. It was brutal. But when I finished it, I was so proud of myself for doing it. And I also knew it was something I wanted to do again someday, but I wanted to be fit. So that didn't happen, by the way. Spoiler alert. So yeah, I talked to the youth. It's funny. I talked to the board of Blind Beginnings. I talked to the fundraising committee. I talked to a few groups and people had a lot of concerns. Are you sure the kids are going to want to do this? How are you going to be able to, explain to them what the grind is? Like, how are you going to do this? But I like a challenge. So we had 10 youth who were keen to do it. And we had monthly training hikes. And they got increasingly harder throughout the spring and summer. So we started with Burnaby Lake, and it's just a 10-kilometer walk around the lake. It's lovely. It's flat. Mm-hmm. It's easy. Some of the kids struggled with that. They'd never gone 10K in one go. And questioned, were they going to be able to do the grind? And that was my thing. Well, this is endurance. If you can't do a 2-hour walk, you're not going to be able to do the Grouse Grind. So then after that, we did the Coquitlam Crunch, which is like 500 plus stairs. So they call it the mini grind. It's nothing like the grind. No. All the stairs are the same.
I don't think I've ever been on that one.
Yeah, I live right across the street. So when I had a baby, I would have him strapped to the front of me and do the grind with my white cane. People were like walking past me like, wow. That was the only fitness I could do really at that point. So anyways, we did that and I wanted them to try stairs. Like, how is this for you guys? Because if this is hard, the grind is going to be really, really tough. And I really wanted them to like sort of get scared so that they would train. They were supposed to be training in between these monthly hikes. Then we did Quarry Rock. And then they did the BCMC trail, which goes up beside the Grouse Grind, which actually might even be harder than the grind, but we didn't know that because I had never done it. It was supposed to be more switchbacks and longer, but not so many stairs, but it was really technical and a lot of them struggled with that, but that made the grind not so bad a month later. So in the end, 9 youth completed the grind, and they were all paired up with a sighted guide, and the sighted guides were volunteers that were with them through the whole five hikes for the most part. So they got to kind of learn how to communicate together, because I know for me, your guide has to be fit enough to be able to talk to you and describe what's coming, as you're going up this really difficult physical challenge, right? So my husband actually guided me, but unfortunately I broke my foot after the first hike. So in May, I did Burnaby Lake. I was at the front of the pack pretty much the whole time because I'm really competitive and I don't care if they're kids. I still wanted to be.
You're gonna beat their bums no matter what.
Exactly. And I wanted to be fit to do the grind. So I was like, this is, kind of a motivation for me to train. I want it to be easier this time. But then a few weeks later, I broke my foot and I was out for the next 3 months. And so I didn't get to do any of the other training hikes until the grind. So, and 2 weeks before we were doing the Grouse Grind, I got the okay that I could return to normal activity, and actually said to the doctor, does that include the Grouse Grind? And he said, yeah, that's fine. So I was so unfit. My husband dragged me up that grind. He's not very fit either. So, but we did it and it was amazing. It was hard. It was really, really hard. But it was awesome for the kids to have that achievement under their belts. And I mean, if you can do the Grouse Grind, what can't you do, right? That's kind of the point. And I think we got a lot of media attention, which was amazing. And people often underestimate our abilities. And I think for the general public to see a group of blind people doing the Grouse Grind maybe makes them question their doubt that we can cross a street. Because that's pretty easy compared to doing the grind.
Well, and for those people who want to see it, the video is up on YouTube.
Yeah.
It has been documented, so it's pretty inspirational.
Yeah, Accessible Media filmed the whole kind of process. They came out to all of our hikes. They sort of featured a few of the kids through the whole process and made a 45-minute documentary called Do the Grind Blind. And yeah, it's awesome. It's worth checking out for sure.
Well, we'll make sure we link to it in the show notes.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been a really incredibly rewarding experience for those 9 kids too, because and it really.
Bragging rights, right?
Not only that, just I mean, it feels so good when you've been training for months and months with something and then finally doing it.
Yeah, for some of the kids, one in particular didn't really do PE, never really was physically active. And she was one of the youth that really struggled with Burnaby Lake and still says she's never doing Burnaby Lake again. That was the hardest one. And I'm like, no, now that you're fit, you really need to go back and try that because it's not that hard.
It'll be a cakewalk.
Yeah, but it was so great for her. And I had some concerns about her, just knowing where she had come from and, her lack of physical activity. I was worried, like, was she going to be able to do it? And she actually, she beat me up the grind. She wasn't at the back of the pack. She did amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at all at the kind of the reception that it got and sort of the groundswell of interest that it created?
Yeah, so funny. So we sent out a media release like the week before, and I actually, in my naive way of thinking, thought the phone was just going to ring like the second after we sent the email to all these media. And all day I'm like, really? Nobody's calling? And no one called until the day before. And then we found out that CBC TV was coming. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's better than nothing. And then when I showed up that morning,
it's only the national broadcast.
But we sent that email to like 150 media sources. So I'm like, really? One? But anyway, everybody was there. 3 television stations, the paper. Like it was, I felt like a celebrity. It was so cool. Like I was smiling for the first half hour of the grind. I was kind of on a high in the beginning. It was like an adrenaline rush. And then the reality of what I was doing hit me. And I'm like, this is not fun.
So how far did these camera crews follow you? Because I can't imagine packing a video camera up the grind.
Well, none of them. They didn't do the grind, but Accessible Media had a cameraman who did every hike, and he was running back and forth to catch people in the front, people in the back of the group. Like, he's amazingly fit. He probably did the grind 3 times while we all did it once. Yeah, so he got some cool footage, and then I think some of the TV stations used some of that footage.
And did they meet you at the top at all, or?
So AMI was at the top. I can't remember I don't know if any of the other, maybe one other, I think one other station, but they took the gondola up.
Of course, cheaters.
And we had, we were going live on Facebook as each person was finishing. And so all the kids were, and their guides were waiting at the top for everyone else to come in and cheered everybody on as they were finishing. It was like, it kind of felt like you were in a race and, they're cheering you. And some of the kids actually ran the last few steps to cross the finish line. I had nothing in me to do that.
Yeah, I think the time I did it, I think I crawled fast.
Yeah.
Because I just went, I want this to be done.
Exactly.
Steve would just have to tell me, there's tequila at the top, Ryan. There's tequila at the top.
Would you ever do it again?
Well, I still haven't done it fit, so personally, I'd like to do it again. But I don't plan on doing it as a Blind Beginnings thing every year. It kind of loses the point. So I'm looking at doing a new challenge each year, and this year some of the youth actually had the idea that they wanted to start a tandem cycling program. Mm-hmm. And they went to this MEC Youth Summit and presented their idea. And it was a bit of a competition, and a whole bunch of organizations were presenting ideas of how to get more youth outdoors. And our idea of the tandem cycling program actually won. And we received $5,000 to start that program. So the plan is to start a program this spring. And every Saturday, we're going to do a tandem ride and open it up to families with younger kids. Maybe, you've got your kid on the back of your regular bike or a trail bike or whatever, but do sort of outings into the community on the bike. And then at the end of 12 weeks of training, we're going to do some kind of epic ride where we're going to invite the community to join us, make it a fundraiser, and kind of, it'll be sort of Do the Grind Blind Part 2, but I haven't come up with the clever name yet, but anyways, we're thinking about that's what we want to do this year.
Steve's mind's going all right.
We might ride for the blind, but I'm thinking like maybe Vancouver to Harrison or something like that. So like a mini Ride to Conquer Cancer idea, but for Blind Beginnings. So we're just in the beginning stages, and actually we could really benefit from some volunteers to help us plan this, because it's a brand new thing, and there's probably a lot of permits we need and lots of things to do. But we're kind of looking at having 10 youth commit to do this, and then maybe look at corporate sponsorship for each youth or each bike, and have people join in and have teams and be a part of it. And I think it'll be cool.
Tell us a little bit about, other than sort of the special events, tell us sort of about the ongoing programs that you provide to the youth.
Okay. So it starts now. We're actually partnering with CNIB on a contract to provide service to kids birth to 5. And one of the components that Blind Beginnings is contributing is our support parent network. So basically a family who has a blind child, they're new to the game and they're pretty overwhelmed and often devastated. Connecting them with a parent who's raised a blind child, who's further along on that journey and has kind of got a handle on things, to be a peer support to them. So we're this year going to be training a bunch of support parents who've been with us for a while, to support these new families. Then we're doing community discovery outings every month in the Lower Mainland. We also have a program in Kamloops, and we'd like to be more provincial. So, and basically that's doing some kind of activity that maybe they haven't done before. So in January, we did cross-country skiing. February, we're doing snowshoeing. We're planning a gardening thing. We're going to have the kids make a Mother's Day lunch for their moms in May. Nice. So just different activities. I think we're going to go to the aquarium and have like a hands-on, get to feel yucky, goopy animals from the sea. Not my favorite thing. So that's our family community discovery out. It's like a family field trip, but with extra hands-on stuff and behind the scenes kind of things. And then our youth leadership program, that's probably our most successful program. So every year we have 12 youth come from all over BC for a 3-day weekend. They stay in a hotel, we take the SkyTrain, and they get exposed to public transit, and they learn leadership skills. And then following the weekend, they have to commit. They're supposed to do 45 volunteer hours and take part in some of our committees. And these have grown. So we have a technology committee, and that's some of our youth are facilitating the Getting Together with Technology program that CCB started.
Right.
So they're sort of providing peer tutoring to blind adults on technology and teaching adults about technology, which is awesome. We've got a newsletter committee, so they write our little newsletter that we send out to our families. We're starting a craft committee, so this Saturday, actually, a bunch of youth are coming in and they're going to learn to knit. We've been making these tactile cards from Braille that we've been selling, so we're looking at expanding our craft portfolio so we can sell more things. The youth were at a few Christmas markets this December selling their stuff. It's good experience, kind of that mini entrepreneurial, business side of things. So basically we look at like what kind of committee can we create where they can learn some transferable employment skills, because youth often don't have a lot of work experience and, they do well academically, but they need things to put on their resume. So we're trying to provide those opportunities and, raise that employment rate for people who are blind.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah. And we have summer camps, too. And counseling. And support groups. It goes on and on. Yeah.
So where do you do your summer camps now?
So we inherited Camp Hornby, which was started not by us, and that one's on Hornby Island every summer. It's amazing. And then the other camp is a family camp, and it moves around the province each year. So last year we were in Kelowna in the fires. That was fun. Little smoky. And this year we're planning to go to Vancouver Island, but we've been on the Sunshine Coast, Maple Ridge, Squamish. We've kind of moved around, and the idea is to be accessible to different families across the province. I mean, people can come from all over, but if you don't have to drive so far, that's better. So we're going to the island this summer.
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the gala that's coming up. I believe in April. Is it celebrating the 10th anniversary?
Yeah, it is. So it's April 7th, and that's kind of the theme, the 10th anniversary theme. We had our planning committee meeting last night, and we were talking about, are we going with a birthday theme? Or are we going with an anniversary? And anyways, but yes, we're definitely going to be celebrating our 10 years. We've also invented an award that we want to honor a business that's gone above and beyond to include a child or youth who's blind in their program. So we've kind of put it out to our families to nominate a business that's really accepted their child, not because they have to be accessible, not really about accessibility, more about inclusion, but just going above and beyond to make it work for a child to participate. So we're calling that the Seeing All People Award, and we will be giving out the first of those at the gala. And it'll have all of our usual fun, silent auction, live auction. We're right now collecting donations for the auctions. Tickets are on sale, and it's always a fun event. It's very, I think we could probably make more money if we went with the whole poor blind child, please give us money approach.
The Sally Struthers appeal.
Yeah, but that just doesn't work for me. It doesn't go along with what I'm trying to do. So it's a really empowering, positive evening, and that's what I've heard from many people who've come. It's not like your typical gala. You actually we showcase some of the kids. So some of them have amazing musical talents and will perform. We'll probably have a couple of them talk about what Blind Beginnings has done for them over the last 10 years. Some of these kids have been with us the whole 10 years. So it's been cool to sort of see that growth and watch them flourish. So yeah, it's a great event.
Is it going to be the same place?
It is, yeah.
Because you filled that place last time.
I know, and we contemplated moving to another location. We were looking at the Italian Cultural Center in Vancouver, but then we kind of got chicken. we got scared that we weren't going to have. What if people didn't follow us if we moved? So we're going to stay where we are for one more year and probably look at moving next year. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It was a bit crowded, so we're going to cut it off at 250, even though the room can accommodate 300. And we're kind of looking at a few ways to make it feel less crowded for people. But yeah, we do sell out now, which is so great. I love that. And it's so fun. I love this time of year because I just get email notifications every time somebody buys a ticket. I'm like, oh, they're coming. Yay, that person's coming. Oh, more tickets. Yay, someone bought a table. So yeah, it's really fun.
Got my 2 tickets already.
Yes, thank you so much.
Not a problem.
I still haven't signed up. I got to do that.
You better do that.
I was on the road with a certain Dr. Linda, and I caught heck for not arranging the non-gala this year.
Right. Well, you had a few things going on.
Yeah.
What's the non-gala?
Yeah.
The non-gala is a couple of years ago. Linda and I were talking, and we basically said, we've been to the gala, and we'd like other people to be able to go to the gala. So one year we donated our tickets back to Blind Beginnings to give to people who might not otherwise be able to attend.
Right.
And then we threw, after the gala, we threw the non-gala. We had Shawn come over and get drunk on wine. have virtually no responsibilities whatsoever.
Yeah, that was probably definitely more relaxing for me. I love the gala. It feels like a party where I know almost everyone. It really is, so much of my family and friends and people I know come. So it's pretty awesome just being at the door as people come in and being like, it's like seeing everyone every year, once a year. It's cool. But it's a lot of work too. I don't really get to relax and enjoy the night.
All right, let's see. Let's get deep.
Oh,
let's get deep.
Whoa,
So
okay.
tell us, what is the most vital component, or what's the most vital part of what you are doing with Blind Beginnings to you personally?
To me,
what do you see as the most important thing that you instill in either the kids, or even the message that you want Blind Beginnings to put out there into the world?
That because you're blind doesn't mean you're less than. I think my story, I didn't know I was visually impaired until I was 12, even though I was all my life. And because my parents didn't tell me, they didn't want me to give up on life, but they obviously viewed it as a pretty terrible thing. And so then I spent like a good chunk of my life not feeling okay. Like there was this thing about me that was broken or wrong that I tried to hide for a really long time. And as my vision got worse and worse, it was really hard to hide. And I wish that I think if I had the confidence that I do now, way back then, early on, my life would have been so different. I would have embraced more. I would have tried more. I would have been more involved. I kind of went through high school and university just blending into the background. That was the goal. Didn't want to be noticed. Well, that's not me. That's not my personality at all. I love being noticed. So yeah, I really want these kids to not feel that there's anything wrong with them just because you're blind. And really, that's the other thing about being born blind. You don't know any different. And until people start to tell you that there's something wrong with you, or something not right about you, you don't know that. And so you're taking on all of the world's perceptions of blindness, and you start to believe it yourself. And I don't want them to believe it. I just want these kids to think that they're just fine the way they are. And in fact, in a lot of ways, we're a little more interesting than those who can see, because we do things differently, and that's cool. It's not bad. And, I always say, like, not being able to see is not the hard part about being blind. It's no big deal, because I've found another way to do almost everything. Okay, legally I can't drive, but I can still get where I need to go because I have the skills to do that. So who cares? What's hard is people thinking that I'm helpless, thinking that I can't do things. So I guess it's twofold. I want families to see that life is not over for their kids. I want the kids to see that they're fine just the way they are. And I want society to realize too, like, we belong here and we have something to contribute. Maybe we have a unique perspective, but let's find out about that. Let's be curious about that rather than just sort of dismiss us. How's that for deep?
That was good. That was good.
Well, thanks for joining us, Shawn.
Yeah, where do we go from that?
I got goosebumps and a tear in my eye.
You'd think I planned that, but I didn't.
All right, so let's get off that topic.
Yeah,
Jeez.
that was too deep. Go
No, that was great.
So tell us about the development of the Taser suit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, these engineering students came to see us the other day, and they wanted to create some sort of technological invention that would help blind people. And so we were talking about, what is it that really frustrates you? And really, we all agreed instantly the thing that really frustrates us is people grabbing us without using any words. And you think, what are you talking about? But it happens. Like, honestly, it happens to me multiple times a day.
Wow.
On public transit, somewhere along my journey, people grab me. And they're trying to be helpful. They're trying to drag me onto the train or pull me across the street or push me, whatever. But or grab me because I'm approaching the stairs and they don't want me to fall down them. Well, hello, that's what the cane's for. It's to feel that the stairs are there. So it drives me crazy. I think there's no other population that you would touch without permission. That's not the kind of touching I want anyways. So we were talking about what kind of invention, maybe something that they get an electric shock when they touch us, or an alarm sounds, or I don't know, a force field that we have around us so they can't actually pass through the bubble. That's not the kind of stuff the engineering students were looking for.
No, that's it. No.
They're like, I think we need a public service announcement more than a technology solution here, but yeah.
Yeah, I still want to film that things not to do to blind people. There was a skit that some kids did back on Bowen. I think it was on Bowen, years and years ago, and I'd love to put that out as a little viral video kind of thing. I think that'd be fun.
It is true, though. I mean, just public misconceptions about, any sort of disability. It's a problem. Mm-hmm. It is a real problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. People want to help. That's nice. I get it. It's coming from a good place. But why wouldn't you just use your words? Why wouldn't you just say, do you need some help? Can I help you? I have no problem with that, even though most of the time I don't need the help. But some people do, and I'm okay with that. But just to grab without saying anything, it's especially when you can't see, you don't know.
Right.
Is it someone being helpful? Probably, but maybe this time it isn't. And now I'm so used to being grabbed, I just accept it. My husband says I should wear a webcam or a head cam. What are they called? Those things?
GoPro.
A GoPro, and just for a day and just film all the crazy things that happen to me.
Actually, that's a brilliant idea. Actually, that is not a bad idea at all.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us about some of the adaptive sports you've done? Recently, you guys tried blind tennis.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah. We did blind tennis for Blind Beginnings last June or May or June, right when I had the broken foot. And so I didn't actually get to try it at that point. But recently, there's a program going on in Coquitlam for 6 weeks where you can come out and try it. And I tried for the first time on Monday, and it was really cool. So the ball kind of rattles. Not kind of, it does. It rattles. And it's really soft, so if it hits you, it doesn't hurt, which is good. And the idea is the less amount of vision you have, the more times the ball can bounce before you have to hit it back. So I don't actually know how to play tennis normally because I've never been able to. So I don't think the ball bounces before you hit it back with regular tennis, but
it can bounce.
It can bounce once.
Oh, okay. So mine was allowed to bounce 3 times before I had to hit it back. So you got a chance to track it because you can't really hear it once it's flying through the air.
Right.
But once it hits the ground, and we were playing with 10 other people playing at the same time in the gym. So there's a lot of rattling balls, and sometimes I was chasing after someone else's, but but it was really fun. I used to be a Paralympic athlete, and training and sport was such a huge part of my life for so long. But since having a child, my son's 4 now, I haven't really done anything. So it was really cool to just get a sweat on and be with other people and play a sport and try something new. So I really enjoyed it. Hopefully it's going to be an ongoing program here.
Cool. Who put on that program?
Well, Blind Sports is kind of involved, but it's actually a woman a Japanese woman who has brought tennis here and is really passionate about the sport. I don't really know what her connection to blindness is, but she's been trying to get this happening for like a year, and she just wants people here to be exposed to it. So her name's Kyo, and she's great. She organized a whole bunch of high school students to be sighted volunteers. So she paired up a blind person with a sighted student. So because if you're playing with another blind person, when the ball rolls away, you're both kind of like, uh-oh, game over. So having a sighted person, I actually had to bring my son. And so he was playing with me too. We were trying to do doubles. That was hilarious. Because, of course, he didn't understand, no, that ball's mine. He just went after everything. And then I'm trying not to hit him with the racket. But he liked it too. So
You need a GoPro.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what's something that's say on like your dream, like if money was no object, money and planning was no object, what activity would you love to go on next?
Oh, okay. Well, I think a community discovery to Disneyland with all the Blind Beginnings families would be cool. If they like closed the park for us so there were no lineups and we could, do the ride multiple times so the kids could really get, the whole experience, that would be really cool. My dream actually for Blind Beginnings is to have a house, to run out of a house with like a big cozy living room for support group meetings and a library with Braille books for kids and toys and a big kitchen to teach life skills and, where they can learn how to clean and do laundry and all those kinds of things with a suite so that youth that are transitioning to moving out could move in for maybe 3 months and live independently, but sort of be supported because somebody would be upstairs. Offices for counseling. I just feel like I feel like Blind Beginnings is a family, and it would just be the perfect thing if we were sort of operating out of a family home kind of situation. So that's my dream. It feels like a lofty goal, but I believe that someday we'll have it. There are other charities that operate out of houses, so it's not unheard of.
Well, and it is so important. I mean, I know that CNIB, they can help out and sort of teach those transitional skills, but really there is nothing like that anywhere.
No. Yeah, and there's, a lot of those services that are available to adults aren't really available to kids. Like, I didn't learn to cook until I was 18, until I moved into residence, and oh my God, I gotta feed myself here. Can't live on bagels for the rest of my life. I did for a while, but so going to the CNIB for to meet with a rehab teacher. I think they're not called that anymore, but to learn to cook like once every 2 weeks or something is not. You need more than that. Yeah. And right now we're talking about starting a cooking committee or a dinner club committee, we're calling it. So each month, one kid does the online grocery order, one cooks the meal, one does the cleanup, and one sets the table and the mood kind of. And then they rotate through so they all get a chance to do each of those jobs and learn how to host a bit of a dinner party, because it's something I personally don't have the confidence to do. I luckily married a husband who likes to cook and entertain, and I just get to be the social person that talks to the guests while he does most of the work. But I feel bad about that. But I can survive on my own, and it's not a blind thing. It's an experience. I just never had that experience. So these kids need more of that. And often parents don't know how to teach a blind person to chop vegetables or cook on the stove or use your other senses. And so they just don't. And kids aren't getting enough of that. So, yeah, we want to do more of that for sure. But we're not really in the right environment to be able to do that in an office.
You're right.
We got other people there that are going to object probably.
as soon as you start pulling out the hot plate.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it must be really amazing. You've been around now for 10 years, and you have kids that have been in the program for that long. I mean, it must be really amazing to sort of think about how they came into the program and what they were like, and then seeing them now. Like, do you really notice a huge difference in their attitudes and and how they even just approach life?
Yeah. It's interesting. Like one child, I had the privilege to meet the father when the baby was only 2 weeks old. And I think the parents sometimes joke, some of the parents joke about how they wish when they found out their child was blind that somehow I just came down from the sky. It was like, boom, hi, I'm Shawn, I'm a blind adult, and I survived. And your child can be like me too. You know, that sort of, if you have that example early on, it changes your whole perception of the future, right? So for kids, I can think of one youth, I didn't meet them until they were 14. And this particular youth was really delayed in a lot of ways because the family didn't have the support and didn't know how to, now my phone's going off. Sorry, it's vibrating,
okay.
but her family didn't know how to support her really, and didn't have that same support. And so she's really flourished just in 3 or 4 years with us. It's a dramatic shift that I've seen in 4 years. And then I've got everything in between. Some of the kids were already teenagers when I started Blind Beginnings, and I had known them through my job at CNIB, through the youth group, and they're doing pretty good. You know, some of those guys are starting to get jobs now and move out and live independently and have girlfriends, and it's cool. It's cool to see them just being normal 20-somethings living life. I also want to be more provincial. Like we had a program on Vancouver Island for a while, but that was literally me going there every month to do this program. And then I got pregnant and couldn't do it anymore, and the program kind of fizzled out. And then we tried something in Chilliwack and it didn't really work. That's the challenge. I kind of need my kid to hurry up and grow up so I have more time to travel the province and really connect families. But I think this early intervention contract we're doing, I'm going to meet this whole new generation of Blind Beginnings families. We just inherited basically 130 new families by partnering with CNIB, and they're all birth to 5. So they're the future families and kids. And so I think we're about to grow. You know, within the next 5 years, we're going to be, I can't even imagine, quite a lot bigger than we are now. And we're going to need more staff for sure. And I can't clone myself. I've tried. So, and maybe I'll be able to hire some of my youth and they can step into my shoes and do what I'm doing, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have to say that it's such an incredibly important program because you've got exactly the right method, which is to get them when they're young and change the attitude, as opposed to say, and you know, not to sort of downplay the services that other organizations provide, but those are almost Band-Aids. Those are almost like, you know, we're going to sort of get you to a level where you can function, give you the certain skills, but not so much changing the attitudes when in those formative years. Exactly.
I don't want these kids to just be able to support them, you know, to live in, I feel like the expectations for blind kids or blind people are quite low. The bar is low. I don't want it to be low. Why is it low? It doesn't need to be low. Let's raise it. Let's have the same expectations that we do of sighted kids. And that's really like, I remember as a teenager having conversations with my parents about what I was going to do when I grew up. And it was, well, maybe you could be a court reporter because you can type really fast, or you could teach piano because you play the piano. I didn't want to do that. And they never said, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Because it was really, and I felt the same way at that time, well, you're going to be blind. You're really going to be blind by the time you're a grown up. So we're going to have to think of something you can do without vision. But there's endless possibilities. Vision is, I mean, when I used to work at CNIB, I started in the career department, and I would meet with with people who had recently lost their vision. And they always asked me, well, what kind of jobs do blind people do? I was like, yeah. Well, and we used to say you can do pretty much anything except maybe be a doctor or a pilot. Turns out there's a doctor in the States who's blind. And how many times did people tell him, you can't do that because you're blind? And obviously he figured out a way.
Right.
So I admire that so much. Like, to go against even I didn't think you could be a doctor if you were blind. And I was pretty, like optimistic about potential and stuff. But I didn't have that. If somebody told me, well, no, you would never be able to do that job, I probably would have accepted that. So now I just think, well, how do you know I can't do that? And if somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm damn well determined to do it. So yeah, I think I rambled off there, but
no, it's fine. Well, and it's interesting because I feel like technology every day is also helping with that. I mean, there's less and less things that are barriers because there's technology there that can help.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how much easier it's getting with technology, and things that have been a bit of a struggle are now becoming not a struggle at all. So it's only going to get better.
Yeah, talking about the attitudes and the low bar. Just last year, I had a vision teacher pull me aside. I was showing a piece of equipment to one of her students, and she pulled me aside and she said, "You have to tell him that he can't be a teacher."
Oh.
I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, he wants to be a teacher. You've got to tell him it's not practical."
Wow.
And it's like, well,
that's horrible.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell him that.
And this is a professional.
This is a professional working in the school system with blind and visually impaired kids.
That is a tragedy.
Setting a limitation like that, and yeah, it is a tragedy.
Yeah,
it really is.
And I have to say that a lot of vision teachers are amazing and wonderful and awesome.
Oh, absolutely, sure, yes.
But that is a horrible story, and that's the kind of stuff. I mean, you hear that from your vision teacher, you're going to believe it.
Sure.
Right? Like, yeah.
Well, it can even be more insidious and subtle than that. Like even society's perspective, even somebody just grabbing you and assuming that, you know what, this person needs help getting down some stairs.
Yep.
That has an impact on an individual.
It does. That is the hardest thing. That's why it ruins my day, because I hear when that happens, you're not capable, you're not able, you need help. I see you as something that needs help. And that's not who I want to be, and that's not who I am. And it's really hard to shake that off and laugh it off and just be like, no, I know I'm good. I know I'm capable. I know I'm independent. I know I don't need this help, because they truly believe that. And when that happens to you over and over, it can wear you down for sure.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of schmucks who watch too many Mr. Magoo cartoons.
The other day I was approaching, the escalator was closed off. I hate Lougheed Station. It's the worst, and I have to go there every day, but I find it the worst. But I was walking towards the stairs, and this guy's like, "Oh, are you looking for the elevator?" And I wanted a sign. Like, I never want the elevator. The elevator is the worst because you got to find the button, and then you've got to find the button for the floor that you want, and then when the door opens, you don't know where the hell you are. Like, I never choose the elevator, but that is this thing that, oh, you can't possibly do the stairs or the escalator if you can't see. Why can't I? There's nothing wrong with my feet. They're not connected to my eyes. Anyway, sorry, that's I'm getting on the rant now.
No, trust us. You're fitting in perfectly. We go on rants all the time. Just ask us about Apple products.
Oh no, really? Shoot.
Well, I was going to ask you, why do you think there aren't more public service announcements, advertisements promoting the fact that, we just want equality. We want the same abilities as our sighted peers. Why is nobody talking about it?
Because we're a small population to begin with. I don't know. And also because of the divide. So if you are an older person who's lost your vision, maybe you do want the elevator. It's different for me. I grew up not being able to see, so I learned how to navigate the world without vision, and I'm very comfortable doing that. So if you're really looking at young people, kids, working age adults, we're a very small group of people. But sometimes I think nobody cares about blindness, which makes me depressed. Unless it relates to you, why would you care, really, right? Why do you want to see a public service announcement? Why do you even want to learn about it? People are a little bit curious, I think. But I don't know. I also think it's one of those things that is really feared by people with sight.
I would agree with that. I think that's a lot of it, is that it's uncomfortable for people who are sighted
to even think about losing vision, right?
That's right.
Well, I guess it's one of those disabilities, where the deaf have had closed captioning for umpteen billion years, And just in the last few years, we've started as blind people getting more and more audio described programming.
Yes.
Why is it taking so long? Is it because blindness is such a fear in people's minds?
I don't think we've done the best job at banding together to advocate as the deaf community did.
Right.
They do not view deafness as a disability. It's a culture. It's their culture, and so they're darn well going to get what they need to. And within the blind community, there is a divide sometimes. I mean, there is in the deaf community too, but I don't know. I think we haven't had the skills or the confidence to come together and really fight for what it is that we want. Maybe we feel like we don't have a voice, and I don't know. I'm determined to change that. I have a voice.
I think a good chunk of the problem is that there's so much infighting between different organizations.
Totally.
If you put a committee of 4 blind people in a room together, by the end of the year, you're going to have 4 different blindness organizations.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. I know. Sorry for starting another one, but but mine's all about the kids, so I'm unique in that way.
You get a pass for that one.
Yeah, and yours isn't necessarily based on politics.
No, I mean, if there's any sort of, I was inspired by Daniel Kish of World Access for the Blind and his No Limits philosophy, and he's not on either side. He's on his own side, and that's kind of where I come from. It's really about potential, and that's it. I don't really care about other things, and I don't do a lot of advocacy in that way, and just stay out of the crossfires.
Duck and cover.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever go skydiving?
No.
No?
Really?
That is, the kids joke about that being a thing that they want to do, and I'm not going with them.
Oh, really? No way.
No, that I have a limit, and I'm not ashamed.
Falling out of a plane is the limit.
Literally, the sky's the limit.
At Camp Hornby, there's a leap of faith where you climb up on the top of this telephone pole and jump off.
Yeah. What?
And not even you're harnessed.
Oh.
So, and there's pegs to help you get to the top. So the first time I went, I'm going to do this, and I climbed up to the top of the pole, and I had one foot on the top. It's sort of the diameter. It's like a dinner plate. Like that's the diameter of the pole at the top, and it kind of sways back and forth a little bit too.
No thanks.
So I had one foot on the top and both my hands, and I had to just take that final step of putting the second foot on the top and standing up, and I was stuck up there for like 10 minutes, I think. It felt like way longer. My palms are sweating just talking about it, not even joking. And one of my teens down below says to me, because I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I think I'm going to have to come back down. And he said, Shawn, no limits. And I'm like,
damn it.
Oh, yeah. I want to swear right there. But so I did it. I stood up and I jumped off, and it was terrifying. And I mean, totally safe. They're all there belaying you and ready to catch you when you jump, but it was terrifying. So that's my limit. I did that. Definitely not jumping out of a plane or bungee jumping or anything like that. No.
Yeah, I've jumped out of a plane, but I think I'd be hard-pressed to bungee jump.
Yeah.
Really? Why?
Well, originally I went to jump out of the plane because I thought it would help me get over my fear of heights. Well, it turns out that you're so high that everything's out of perspective, and they train you. There's different types of jumps you can do. You can do tandem jumps where you actually jump out strapped to somebody else, and they'll take you up to 10,000 feet. But what I did was the actual training course to learn how to parachute, and they do like a day course, and at the end of the day, you get into this little tiny plane, and you're sitting on your feet with all your gear on, and you get up to about 3,000 feet. And you have to climb out of the plane, hang off of the wing strut, make eye contact with your instructor.
Cool.
Your instructor's holding on to the pilot chute for your parachute, which is the small parachute that pulls your big parachute out. And when you let go of the plane, when he tells you to let go of the plane, you let go, and he lets go of your pilot chute, which immediately grabs air. So you only fall for 3-4 seconds before your parachute deploys.
Okay.
But you're so focused on the process, and you're so focused on doing everything in the correct order, and everything is so out of perspective. Like everything's so tiny down there that you don't have the same. I didn't get the same feeling that I get climbing a ladder. Like ladders scare the crap out of me. But no, I was good jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
Wow.
But bungee jumping. I can really see the ground there.
Yeah.
Zip lining's fun.
I'd like to do that. I've only done, in the playground at elementary school, kind of zip lining. But I also think parasailing would be cool to feel like you're flying behind the plane.
That is fun. I've done that.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
All right. So tell us about where can people find Blind Beginnings online?
Blindbeginnings.ca is our website. You can also look for us on YouTube. We have a YouTube page with some cool videos. But yeah, blindbeginnings.ca.
Now, what's the best process if somebody is interested in signing their child up with the program? What's generally the process that they go through?
Probably call me or email me. So Shawn at blindbeginnings.ca. And just, or you can sign up as a member on through the website. Most people contact me because they hear about Blind Beginnings and then they want to know more what programs. And, if you email me and say how old your child is, I can tell you specifically what programs your family may be interested in as a starting point. Generally, people do need to become a member to participate, to be covered under our insurance, but you don't need to be a member to be on our mailing list, and you can come out to a program and check us out before you make that kind of commitment. It's not that much of a commitment. It's $25 a year for a family, and we can waive the fee if cost is an issue. So it's just, we need them to sign up just so they're covered.
And do you have any events coming up?
We're going snowshoeing on February 17th. That's a family outing for kids of any age. At Cypress, I think, is where we're going. I should really know. Oh, Seymour. I think it's Seymour.
Right.
Yeah, Seymour.
What else is happening? We have a trivia night fundraiser on March 3rd at Moose's Down Under in Vancouver. That should be a fun event.
And how can people get tickets for that?
On our website as well.
Okay.
And we're starting a youth support group for youth 13 to 19 at the end of February. So it runs for 6 months, once a month, Saturday afternoons at our office. And our youth leadership weekend is coming up in April, the end of April. And so we just sent out an email looking for people to register for that. So that's youth all over BC who are 13 to 19. So lots of things. There's always lots of things going on. The best thing to do is check out the website.
Great. And the gala, of course, is
April 7th.
April 7th, and tickets on the website as well.
Yes.
Excellent. Hey, Ryan.
Rob.
Where can people find us on the old intranet?
On the intranet, they can find us at www.atbanter.com.
They can also email us, if they so desire, atbanterpodcast@gmail.com.
I'm really, really disappointed with you, Rob.
Why?
You've been getting that consistently right. And
I know.
Yeah,
we've not had our opportunity.
It took him a year and a half, but...
A year. It took me a year. No limits, Ryan.
Sorry.
Where else can people find us, Steve?
Well, they can find us on Facebook, they can find us on Twitter, and they can find us on Instagram.
Well...
I took a video today.
Did you?
It's going on Instagram.
Attaboy.
Sweet.
Our first Instagram post.
Yeah, the only problem is I have no idea how to log into our Instagram.
I'll email you the information if I can remember it. Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Where the heck can people find you on the internet?
Well, they can find me at www.canastech.com. Also, Steve at canastech.com. for all your assistive technology needs.
Do you get razzed about that name, Can-Ass?
Yeah,
I do, yeah. But you know what?
It was self-inflicted, though.
That's
he
right.
wanted it.
I did. I looked at the
You wanted to
available
draw
domains.
attention to your ass?
I did. Yeah.
He's always
It's
shaking.
memorable. You know, as soon as,
Your ass is memorable?
Yeah, as soon as people...
Really? I don't know. I
And we're off the rails.
I beg to differ, but okay. It's different strokes for different folks. Okay. Now he's blushing. Okay, wait, where were we?
I'm
While
sorry.
Steve was talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
memorable
We're
ass.
talking
Okay.
about my ass, man.
Okay, fine. I was trying to get us off that. No,
I think we were wrapping up.
Well, you were
Yeah,
telling
okay,
us a
so-
story about how you wanted to get Can Aztec.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. So I looked at the various domains and that were available and different ways of abbreviating Canadian assistive technologies because I obviously didn't want to spell the whole thing out at .com. That would cause people to type all day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Make typos.
And when I came up with Can Aztec, I thought, hey, there's ass in the middle of that. People are going to make fun of that, and it's like perfect. That's advertising. That's advertising. That's
Yeah.
memorable.
Yeah.
Plus, it's getting my ass back into assistive technology. So there you go.
Awesome.
What about Mr. Rick Chan? Where can people find him?
Well, Rick and his marvelous assistive technology repair company, Chaos Technical Services, can be found, oddly enough, at www.chaostechnicalservices.com. He can also be emailed at chaostech@shaw.ca. That's SHAW.
Sean,
Yes.
thanks so much for coming all the way into Coquitlam.
I live in Coquitlam.
To the dungeon.
Wow. Oh, shit.
But you're welcome.
Okay, the wilds of Coquitlam.
Yeah. And climbing down into the dungeon
That's
to join
right.
us.
Right. That was the hard part.
Made the Grouse Grind look fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me again.
Excellent. All right. I guess that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening in, and we will see everybody next week.
Cowbell. This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com. Music provided by bensound.com.